I got their wedding invitation in the mail last week. Cream-colored envelope, gold lettering. A little wax seal with a J+E in the center. Elegant, classy, the kind of thing you'd expect from two people who want to pretend their love story is pure. I held it in my hands for a full minute, just staring at those initials. Jake and Emily, my brother and my ex-wife. They were getting married, and they wanted me there to witness it. There was a time I might have cried, or punched a wall, or even considered showing up to say something dramatic in front of everyone, but that time passed a long while ago. Now, I just sat down at my kitchen table, opened the envelope carefully, and read the words they chose so deliberately. We would be honored to have you there to celebrate this next chapter of our lives. We hope to reconnect and rebuild our bond. My fingers tightened around the card, not from anger, not anymore. Just disbelief at the audacity. Reconnect, rebuild, as if the wreckage wasn't their doing. I placed the invitation on the counter, grabbed a pen, and wrote a response they'd never forget. But before I get to that, let me tell you how we got here. Because this didn't start with a wedding invitation, it started with trust. Emily and I met in college. She was loud in all the ways I wasn't. Funny, confident, always the center of attention. I was quiet, observant, more interested in listening than speaking. But somehow, we clicked. She said I made her feel grounded. I told her she made me feel brave. That was enough for both of us, back then. We dated for 4 years, before getting married. Not perfect years, but happy ones. Or so I thought. Emily was a little hot and cold. Sometimes she'd pick fights out of nowhere, then apologize like nothing happened. She hated when I asked questions about where she'd been, but got furious if I didn't text her back fast enough. I chalked it up to stress, to bad days, to personality differences. I made excuses because I loved her. My family adored her, everyone did. My parents called her the daughter they never had. My cousins followed her on social media, like she was some kind of influencer. My aunts invited her to brunch more than they ever invited me. Emily knew how to turn it on when she needed to. I'd seen it up close. That smile she had when people were watching. That laugh she used when she wanted to disarm someone. It worked on everyone, especially my older brother, Jake. Jake was the golden boy, always had been, captain of the football team, smooth talker, never really had to work hard for anything. If I had brought home a B+, my parents would ask what happened. If Jake failed a class, it was the teacher's fault. I stopped comparing myself to him when I was 17, but our parents never did. He was their pride. I was their afterthought. I thought I'd grown past all that. I thought being an adult meant we were equals now, brothers again. I was wrong. It started small. Emily would laugh a little too hard at Jake's jokes during family dinners. Jake would comment on her Instagram posts more than mine. Once I saw her text him a photo of a dress she bought before she showed me. I didn't say anything at the time. I trusted them. They were family. Turns out, that was my first mistake. The first real sign that something was wrong came on a Tuesday. I got home from work and Emily wasn't there. Not unusual, she sometimes stayed late at the marketing firm where she worked. But her phone was sitting on the counter, screen cracked in the corner. She never left without it. I remember just standing there for a second, staring at it like it was some kind of warning. I picked it up and saw a text notification pop up. Last night was insane, can't stop thinking about it. No name, just a number. My stomach dropped. I didn't unlock it, not then. I didn't want to be that person, the paranoid husband. I told myself maybe it was a friend joking around. Maybe it was from a client, maybe a million things. I put the phone back down and then made dinner like nothing happened, but I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I couldn't focus at work. I kept thinking about that message. About the way Emily had started avoiding me lately, coming to bed late, showering as soon as she got home, keeping her phone face down all the time. I told myself I was imagining it, that I'd let one message spiral into something bigger. But deep down, I knew. I just didn't want to believe it. I waited until the next weekend, Saturday morning. She was out shopping with friends. I opened her phone. It wasn't even hard. Her password was still the same. What I found wasn't just one message. It was hundreds, photos, videos, flirty texts. The same number from before, but this time with a name, Jake, my brother. I sat there on the edge of our bed, phone in hand, reading through message after message like I was watching a car crash I couldn't look away from. He called her baby, she called him love. They joked about sneaking around behind my back, about family dinners where they had to pretend not to want each other, about the thrill of it all. There was one message that made me feel like someone had punched me in the chest. He has no idea. I almost feel bad. I don't know how long I sat there. I don't remember when she came home. But I do remember what I said when I handed her the phone. You left your phone at home the other day, I told her, so I took a look. You forgot to delete the part where you blew up our lives. She didn't cry. Not right away. First, she looked shocked, then embarrassed, then angry. You went through my phone? She snapped. That was her first reaction. Not guilt, not shame, not regret, just anger that I had found out. I laughed, bitter and short. That's what you're upset about. She started crying then, apologizing, saying she didn't know why she did it. That it just happened, that she still loved me. I asked her how long it had been going on. She said 6 months, 6 months of lying, of smiling at me across the dinner table while texting my brother beneath the table, of hugging me while sleeping with him. She begged me not to tell anyone. Said she'd break it off, that it was a mistake. I told her she didn't need to, because she was leaving that night, and she wouldn't be coming back. She screamed, cried, tried to throw herself at me. I told her I'd call the police if she didn't leave. Then I called Jake. He didn't answer the first time, but he called me back 10 minutes later. Hey, what's up? He said, casual as ever. I didn't waste time. I know. Silence. You and Emily. I know everything. Don't bother lying. He didn't. He let out a long sigh and said, look, man, I didn't mean for it to happen. I laughed again, louder this time. You didn't mean to sleep with my wife. It got complicated. We were both going through stuff. Shut up. He started to say something else, but I hung up. That was the last time I spoke to him directly. I spent the next few days in silence. No music, no TV, just the ticking of the clock in an empty house that didn't feel like mine anymore. I barely ate. I didn't sleep. I walked from room to room, seeing ghosts of a life that was never real. Then I told my parents. I drove to their house, sat them down, and said the words out loud. Emily cheated on me, with Jake, for 6 months. At first, they didn't understand. What do you mean cheated? My mom asked. She had an affair, I said, with Jake. I found their messages. My dad leaned back, arms crossed, his mouth a tight line. My mom's face twisted in disbelief. Are you sure? She said. I wanted to scream. Yes, I'm sure. I saw everything. They didn't even try to hide it. My mom's hands trembled slightly as she reached for her mug. She always said you were distant lately. Maybe she felt lonely. She cheated, Mom, with my brother. My dad finally spoke. Jake says it wasn't serious. That it was emotional, not physical. That's a lie. Maybe, he said, but you've always been emotional about these things. Maybe you're overreacting. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. I sat there waiting for them to take my side. To say they'd talked to Jake, that what he did was disgusting. That they were sorry, but none of that came. Instead, my mother wiped her eyes and said, we just want the family to stay together. You've always been so intense. Maybe if you could just forgive them. Forgive them. They made a mistake. They made a choice, every day, for 6 months. And you're asking me to forgive them? Dad stood up. This drama doesn't help anyone. You're both adults, work it out quietly. I stood too. I didn't start the drama. But I sure as hell won't be part of the cleanup. I walked out. Over the next week, I got text after text from family members, cousins, aunts, even a few friends I hadn't talked to in months. All with the same message. Can't believe you're blowing this up like this. She made a mistake. You should talk to her. Jake's your brother. Don't ruin that bond. I wanted to ask them all the same thing. What would you have done if it were you? But I didn't. Instead, I packed a bag, moved into a small rental apartment across town, and cut them all off. blocked their numbers, deleted old threads, left the group chats. I left it all behind, because that's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't always come with knives and screaming. Sometimes it's just silence, shrugs, excuses, a slow, cold turning at backs. That was when I realized I hadn't just lost a wife or a brother, I'd lost my whole family. The silence in that apartment was different from the silence in the house I used to share with Emily. This one wasn't filled with ghosts. It was just empty. One mattress on the floor, no couch. A chip kitchen table I got off Craigslist. I ate from paper plates for the first month because I didn't have the energy to buy dishes. I didn't hang anything on the walls. I didn't want to make it feel like home. It wasn't. Work became the only thing I had left. I threw myself into it because it was the one place where I didn't have to think. I showed up early, stayed late, kept my head down. My manager probably thought I was gunning for a promotion. Really, I was just trying not to fall apart. I'd come home, heat up whatever frozen garbage I'd picked up from the store, and sit in the dark eating alone. I'd scroll through old photos, sometimes torturing myself with the ones where we looked happy. I'd read and reread those text messages, trying to figure out when it started, how I missed it, what I could have done differently. Therapy wasn't even my idea. One of my coworkers, a guy I barely knew, saw me zoning out at lunch and said I looked like someone who hadn't talked to another human in a month. He gave me the name of someone his brother had seen during a divorce. I almost threw it away. But the paper sat in my pocket for a week, and eventually, I called. That first session was rough. I sat there stiffly, arms crossed, trying to pretend I wasn't broken. The therapist, an older woman named Janice, didn't push. She just listened, asked simple questions, made me say things out loud I hadn't admitted to myself. Like how I felt worthless, replaceable, like I'd been nothing but a placeholder in my own marriage. Or how I hated myself for not seeing it sooner. Or how I didn't just feel betrayed, I felt erased. Week by week, I started talking more. The weight on my chest didn't go away, but it shifted, got lighter. Janice helped me understand how deeply I had been gaslit, not just by Emily, but by my entire family. Every time they minimized my feelings, every time they brushed things under the rug or made me feel like I was the problem, they were reinforcing a belief I'd carried since I was a kid, that I didn't matter. I realized how often I'd put myself second, third, last. How much of my life I'd spent trying to be low maintenance, easygoing, reasonable. I wasn't standing up for myself because I didn't believe I was worth standing up for. That hurt, but it also woke me up. Janice gave me assignments. Write letters I wouldn't send, take long walks without music, say things out loud that made me uncomfortable. One night, I stood in front of the mirror and said, "You didn't deserve it." It felt stupid at first, but I said it again, and again. Until something cracked. I cried for the first time in months. Not angry tears, not broken ones, just grief. For the version of myself I had lost, for the family I never really had, for the man who stayed loyal while everyone else walked away. Healing wasn't a cinematic moment. There was no big speech, no dramatic haircut, no thunderstorm followed by sunshine. It came in tiny ways. The first time I laughed at something on TV. The first meal I cooked that wasn't microwavable. The first weekend I didn't think about her. I started journaling, not the Dear Diary kind, just thoughts, feelings, questions. Sometimes it was just a sentence. Today was quiet, and that was okay. Other times, it turned into full-on rants, letters to people I'd never speak to again. Jake, Emily, my parents. I wrote a letter to my younger self once, told him he wasn't weak for wanting peace. Told him he didn't need to keep proving himself to people who never saw him clearly. That one hit the hardest. Work noticed the change. My manager pulled me aside a few months in and asked if I'd consider leading a new project. I was hesitant, but I said yes. For the first time in a long time, I wanted something more. I started going to the gym again, slowly. I wasn't chasing a revenge body. I just wanted to feel strong in my own skin. I started reading again, actual books. Not just articles about emotional recovery or cheating statistics, fiction, sci-fi, stories where people faced impossible odds and still kept going. And I met people. Not romantically, not yet, but real people. A guy at the gym who shared music with me, A woman in my apartment building who owned a dog that always tried to steal my mail. We talk sometimes, nothing big, but enough to remind me that I wasn't invisible. The biggest shift came 6 months after everything blew up. I got a call from my dad. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail, said they wanted to talk, that they missed me. That Jake and Emily were trying to make amends. I deleted it without listening to the end. Then I got another call, this one from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail again. Later, I listened to it while walking home from work. It was Emily. She sounded soft, almost rehearsed. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for everything. I know I hurt you. I think about it every day. I hope you're okay. You don't have to call back. I didn't. There was nothing left to say that night. I went home, made dinner, and sat by the window while it rained outside. I looked around my little apartment. It still wasn't fancy, still no decorations, still that same old table. But it didn't feel like a punishment anymore, it felt like mine. About a year after it all fell apart, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself, and for the first time, that felt like a good thing. I'd lost weight, not just the stress kind, but the steady, disciplined kind. My eyes looked clearer, my posture was straighter. I looked like someone who had been through a war and come out the other side, scarred, maybe but standing. I moved out of the apartment and into a small condo closer to the city. It wasn't flashy, but it had a little balcony and great light in the mornings. I bought real furniture, art, even. I didn't buy anything that reminded me of the past. I wanted every inch of that place to feel like the future. I started seeing someone too, slowly. Her name was Maya. We met at a bookstore, of all places. She recommended a novel I was holding, and I joked that it looked too smart for me. We kept bumping into each other. Eventually, we grabbed coffee. Then lunch. Then it became a thing. She knew I'd been through something rough. I didn't hide it, but I didn't dump it on her either. We talked about it piece by piece. Over time, she listened. She never flinched. She didn't try to fix me, didn't treat me like I was fragile. She just made space for me to exist. It wasn't fireworks and fairy tales. It was something better, steady, honest, real. One evening, over dinner, she said something that stuck with me. You talk like someone who used to apologize for taking up space. I thought about that for a long time. I didn't want to be that person anymore. You might be wondering, what about Jake? What about Emily? What about revenge? I'll be honest, I thought about it a lot. There were nights where I fantasized about burning bridges, exposing them to the world, making them feel the shame they tried to bury. But here's the thing, time did it for me. Word got out, slowly, not from me, other people pieced it together. Jake's reputation at work took a hit. People found out about the affair. He got passed over for a promotion that was basically his to lose. Emily and he tried dating after I left, didn't even last 6 months. I heard she caught him texting someone else, shocking. My parents kept reaching out, always in small, guilt-washed ways. Birthday cards, vague texts, a Happy New Year email that somehow mentioned Jake 3 times. I didn't respond. I didn't block them. I just let them drift. That was my revenge, not a breakdown, not a fight. Silence. Let them wonder what version of me I become. Let them realize they no longer had a front row seat. One day, I got a message from a cousin I hadn't spoken to since the fallout. Just wanted to say I was wrong not to stand up for you. I didn't know the full story. I do now. You didn't deserve what happened. You're better off without them. I thanked her. We talked for a bit, not about the past, about books, movies, life. The world started to feel wider again. One night, I sat alone on my balcony, drinking tea and watching the sun disappear behind the buildings. A breeze kicked up, and I thought about that first night in the apartment, broken and shaking, convinced I had nothing left. I didn't know then that I was just getting started. I didn't rebuild my old life, I built something better. People say revenge is best served cold. I disagree. The best revenge is peace. The kind that doesn't need validation, the kind that doesn't seek applause. The kind that lets you wake up, stretch your arms, and say, they don't get to ruin me, not anymore. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to see more such stories.